Sabrina 90s comic, issue 23. We start out with someone near Sabrina getting handed a photo of the principal, which is all part of his plan, Prince of a Pal, which he plans to stress in his speech before the school board tonight. He wants to let all the students know that he's always here. Then as Sabrina gets back home, with not just her but also Gina walking there because apparently they just love exercise, Gina says with a smile to not forget to frame her picture of the principal. Is she being sarcastic? Won't a bunch of teenagers just see the new principal as desperate? Sabrina finally gets home and asks where Hilda and Zelda are. Salem tells her that today kicks off the new vacuum and broom show in the other realm and they never miss it. You'd think they'd be bored of vacuums and brooms by now. How long has this show been going on? She can't relax because Salem was told to make sure she practiced her magic to the point where he jumps on her. I don't see what the point is in making sure she does this though, because she's clearly great at every spell she needs to use already, and everything else is just a redundant spell begging to be abused. She knows how to time travel. She's proven over and over again that she's not above abusing magic. Speaking of easily abusable spells, she finds out about a mind and body transfer spell. Is this going to result in her losing access to her magic, like a bad episode of the animated series? I'm glad I never got to see that show. She says to Salem that she'll need a volunteer, and he wants to leave, making an excuse that he's gotta buy stuff when he's a cat. So she uses magic to trap him here because he's the one who is telling her to practice. Why isn't he pointing out to her that obviously she shouldn't be able to use magic against them because Enchantra forced him to be a talking cat in particular? Well, he was turned into a woolly mammoth just fine, so I guess it's not the case. This wouldn't be literally turning Salem back into a human, because his body would still be a cat. But the fact remains that the existence of the spell would be a way for him to escape Enchantra's curse easily. All he needed is a witch loyal enough to him to sacrifice their body to switch places with him. Granted, very few people would agree to that. But a lot of people would be able to get around the Enchantra curse that way. And she might never know, because she might never bother to visit or talk to them, or she would, but wouldn't quiz them and ask them for answers only them and her would know the answer to. Apparently, Enchantra's spell doesn't prevent Sabrina from switching bodies with Salem. It's even more convoluted because she inexplicably tries transferring Salem's mind into a pineapple instead, and her spell ricochets all over the room because she's rusty somehow. This wouldn't happen. Magic would know that she doesn't want this to happen. So the spell hits Salem, and then Sabrina sees her principal and says that her zap must have bounced off his picture. So Salem looks like the principal now, after the beam bounced off a photo of him that just included his head and a suit and tie that don't even match the one he's wearing. At least this is a creative twist. She somehow managed to switch Salem and the principal's bodies when they weren't even in the same room as each other. I bet this has never been done before, but that's for a reason. How did this happen by accident? Won't her magic remember that this isn't what she imagined at all? Well, this ought to be interesting. It's more interesting that Salem will get to experience the life of someone we don't already know the life of extensively, someone who has a job. Salem made it clear he doesn't want a job, but he's still ecstatic to have a human body. Well, the principal turns into Salem all the way in his chair. The two of them look at the mirror, and Salem shows his vanity, saying that this body isn't as handsome. I love Sabrina's black coat. It makes sense that Sabrina fumbled while talking and said, "We've got to go find you, Principal Gaston." Salem then shows more personality by flirting with the woman. I can't blame him. He's even been trapped as a cat for hundreds of years. But instead Sabrina ruins his fun, tugging his ear, and embarrasses him because he blurts out that this hurts in human form. You mean it doesn't in cat form? I guess Enchantra assumed that was how it worked, and so it became true. The janitor wonders what the voice is, and I guess he's so unfamiliar with the new principal that he doesn't recognize his voice immediately. Because instead he chases away what he thinks is just a cat, and says sympathetically that it's bad enough he has teenagers to clean up after. Again, Gaston screams in a human way as a cat, and the janitor doesn't question it at all. And if he was a witch and that's why, he would have done all his cleaning with magic and not been complaining. Salem and Gaston meet each other, and because Sabrina doesn't want to say the truth right away, Salem has to tell Gaston he's a witch for her. So why is this necessary though? Why can't Sabrina just instantly undo the spell, and then erase his memory? It's kinda epic to see a regular mortal be told she's a witch, but it'd have more impact if it was a recurring character and not a brand new one, when I just want to see the principal from Archie instead. Then there's a comedy page where a door-to-door saleswoman tries to sell Hilda some new beauty cream. Well, I like her hairstyle. Hilda asks if it's any good, and she says it's guaranteed to take 10 years off her face. The whole time I'm being reminded of the last time these two used beauty cream. So naturally Zelda isn't impressed and closes the door, saying, 10 years? Big deal. Come back when you have something that can take off 200. And she thinks of her as a nut. Zelda doesn't even try to hide that she's a witch sometimes. It's like she wants people to know. Gaston says that witchcraft would explain some of the strange situations he's seen Sabrina in. He has? We've never seen him before. Salem's happy that he can wear a watch and tell time for them. And Gaston, is arbitrarily told that he can't be turned back to normal right away because Sabrina thinks this witch stuff is new to her. How long has she been a witch? Can't you just teleport a magic book to her and immediately undo the spell? That's ridiculous. Gaston says that Salem can't learn the speech in time because he's got it memorized. Sabrina says that Salem can lip sync to the speech if Gaston hides in the podium with the microphone. Oh come on, wacky's an understatement. It's so obvious that because Salem wouldn't know what word was coming, his lip syncing would always be behind. Everyone would notice right away. The only way this could work would be if Sabrina used a spell to link their minds together so that they're on the same wavelength. If it happened in Sonic, she could do it. And couldn't she just use a spell directly to switch their voices? Oh good, someone in the crowd says that this looks like one of those dubbed foreign movies. Because of bad luck, Gaston gets a hairball, so Salem has to improvise, making me laugh by making a pun. And Gaston's "oh no" was really what made me giggle. As I always say, the school's not the problem, it's the principle of the thing. Ta-dum-bum. The fact that I said that at the end was especially amusing. He says, a student once asked me, would you blame me for something I didn't do? Good, because I didn't do my homework. Then he laughs and says that he loves that one, and the students laugh. You'd think they'd hear Gaston say right in front of the microphone that Salem's killing his career. That shouldn't kill his career. It's endearing him to the students, at least. Isn't that the best thing a principal could do? Then Sabrina's aunts teleport to Sabrina as I'm smiling at all of this because they found Sabrina's note, which she thought ahead enough to write. That was smart. She explains what happened, and Hilda blames her for not practicing more. Hilda says that she'll tell her how to change them back, and that's skipped over. So the very next panel has Sabrina change them back. One side effect of the transfer is that you don't remember the time in the other body. Huh? But you remembered your time in the original body, despite not having access to the physical brain that would hold the memories. Huh? Maybe the Witches' Council decided to cast a combined, powerful spell that made it so that no matter what, this was always a side effect. Just in case the witch forgets or doesn't get the chance to erase the mortal's memory. What if they're not immortal and so that's unnecessary? It should be explained that this is a side effect only against mortals. You'd think this kind of side effect would actually be rife with abuse. What's stopping a witch from using the spell against a precedent to switch places with them? Or Enchantra? I guess heads of state are enchanted to be immune to this exact spell. Why not everybody then? Won't everyone want to pay for immunity or give it to themselves? I'm sure spy witches would immediately see a witch abusing the spell to switch places with someone in power and prosecute them for breaking the witch code. My point is, this spell could only ever lead to people abusing it, if it can be done on someone without their consent. And even then, someone could agree to it and then be upset at the person doing something they disapprove of. The spell wouldn't be in the magic book, it'd be illegal, and enchanted away if possible. This is just as bad as a time travel spell. Gaston then gets embarrassed because he's now known for his great sense of humor, just to mess up telling a joke right away. And I can't help but be sad that Gaston doesn't know Sabrina's a witch anymore. That would have been interesting. I would have felt better if Sabrina used magic to make him forget he was a witch on purpose, instead of it being an arbitrary side effect, so arbitrary that it just seems like it's there to force the status quo, when this would barely change things anyways. We could have seen the principal try to get Sabrina to grant his wishes. But based on what I've seen of him, I'm not sure he'd do that. He didn't ask her for anything other than his body back. In the next story, Sabrina sees that Harvey's shoe's untied and wants to tie it before he trip. Is this gonna go awry? Yep, somehow it does, because his shoe gets tied to the desk leg. That would never happen. There's no way her magic would think she wanted that. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this comic, the amount of times her magic actually helped someone without backfiring would be less than 10. Then Gina compliments her on a necklace from her pen pal overseas. Oh, so the necklace is cursed to make a witch's magic do the opposite of what she wants. I guess there's a witch's spell in it that's more powerful than hers. Well, she's half witch. Any witch is more powerful. But Sabrina should be way more confused and suspicious after that magical screw-up. Also, you'd think one of her aunts would have recognized the necklace as bad news after all their experience. But I guess this kind of concept is very recent, or it's so rare that's never happened to them or someone they know. Maybe they never saw a necklace looking exactly like that be like this before, or she hasn't shown it to them somehow. Then their teacher decides to move the big test up to tomorrow so they can move on to other things, which upsets the students who wouldn't be ready for it. Sabrina wants to delay the test, but her magic makes the test happen right now. Then we cut to her Aunt Zelda saying that Sabrina's had power problems all day. That's why she levitates into the ceiling and Hilda has to save her. This is just an exaggeration of how the comic normally is. The fact that the hexameter says her powers are at the normal level just makes things even more confusing. Why would anyone bother making the hexameter's tricked a part of the necklace spell? No one's going to use that meter until after they've realized something's wrong. Gina asks Zelda if Sabrina's home because she wants to borrow Sabrina's necklace. So Zelda gets suspicious of the necklace and warps over to Hilda and Sabrina, who are sitting on the moon perfectly fine. I'm forced to assume that there's a magically created air bubble protecting them, but sadly it's not explained. I'm sure if this was Rick and Morty it would have been. I think Zelda telling Sabrina that her necklace is cursed could have been just one panel, but instead they dragged it out. Zelda thought the necklace looked familiar. That makes more sense. She did a little research, and that figure is an ancient charm used to ward off witchcraft. It must have been made by a witch though, or a leprechaun, or else it wouldn't work, and yet that's not explained. No mortal can make this thing functional. Sabrina's told to leave the necklace here so that it wouldn't interfere with her magic ever again, and the ending is a pleasant surprise. We see some aliens benefit from it. I never thought we'd get to see these. The woman happily says that Belzar did remember their anniversary, when he didn't. Good thing they can speak English for our convenience. I guess they're in contact with the witches of the other realm, who must have made English super common. I wouldn't mind seeing more aliens like this in Sabrina. It's a change of pace. In the next story, Zelda tells Sabrina that she and Hilda are off to the supermarket. Sabrina asks them to pick up some more diet soda. Why can't Sabrina zap it up for herself for free? Hilda tells her that they're going to a supermarket that doesn't sell such things. I don't care if it's Witch Mart, it still sells soda. And somehow Sabrina's ditzy enough to ask what she means by that. Then she's surprised, acting as if she heard the name Witch Mart for the first time, when I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Didn't she complain about a witch supermarket because they bought screaming popsicles? I guess this is a story taking place before the stories where she heard about it, because here, she says that she's got to see this place and says she's coming too. The panels before this should have been removed, because it could have easily not existed. There's no reason her aunts would have simply said they were going to the supermarket. Hilda says this is exciting, and Salem tells them to not forget to pick them up some kitty treats. It's nice of them to agree to that. They all seem to treat Salem nicer in the comic. Somehow, Sabrina thinks it looks like a regular supermarket when it has a stereotypical witch hat on the sign. But she has to mean other than that. Hilda tells Sabrina to hop in the oversized cart, which Sabrina thinks is childish. The cart follows their orders, taking them directly to the canned goods. Zelda says there's a special on bat wings and they're all stocked up. I guess it's a potion ingredient. But when is the last time they've ever made a potion? Wouldn't bat wings expire after a while being stocked and not used? I guess everything in the witch supermarket is charmed to not have an expiration date. Then Zelda wants to get some half-price dehydrated newts for brewing. Again, since when does she ever brew anything? Everyone else is going there too, and Hilda says that the first one gets a pick of the newts, as we see stereotypically dressed witches in two different carts. Because apparently, even though Sabrina said that this kind of outfit is old-fashioned, there's an entire subculture of witch that still wants to dress like that. Which makes sense because it's the iconic witch look on Earth. And I guess there's enough witches on Earth that's the iconic witch everywhere else too. Zelda's cart crashes into the others, And she gets the box of Newt, which are flavored vanilla and chocolate. And Sabrina's answer fine, while Sabrina's considerately asking if they're okay. Sabrina ends up complaining that they've been here for hours. They get some frozen lizard tails, with Hilda saying that they keep much better frozen. So everything here isn't enchanted to having no expiration date? Maybe the spell on them gets undone when they bring them home. How do you imagine food never having an expiration date? You just think about it as it is, but if you told magic to make it stay that way, that'd also mean you wouldn't be able to bite into it and digest it because that would also alter the way it is. But there's been plenty of times where witches use magic for things they couldn't easily visualize. And that's probably what saying spells is for. Maybe the food is intentionally not made to last forever because it forces grocery stores to keep having to buy more food, or keep paying people to sap it up. And maybe spells that make food unable to rot are made artificially impossible thanks to the Witches' Council to keep it this way. Sabrina then gets fed up when she sees a frozen caveman. Maybe we're better off not thinking about why that person's being sold here. She hates the Witch Mart for being too weird and convoluted. And I guess the reason she's not abused with magic for insulting it to the employee's face is that the employee knows he'd get fired for it. Sabrina's asked if she wants something for the ride home, and asks for something not gross. Zelda says they have eternally flavored gum, and Hilda says that she's been chewing this tasty piece for centuries. How? There isn't really any comedy here, because we don't see anyone actually react to that. And instead, Sabrina says cheerfully that she'll grab a pack. She really is her niece. Then she comes back later and reveals that she came back from a celebration because she was their millionth customer. So she got a lifetime shopping spree coupon. The first story is by Bill Gallagher, and it's about Sabrina using a spell for magic practice that somehow switches Salem and her principal's bodies when she didn't intend for that to happen. And somehow she can't just immediately switch them back. We don't even see Hilda's solution for it either. It was pretty interesting seeing a mortal principal have to be a cat and find out Sabrina's a witch. He remained pretty calm about it and unjudgmental, so that's nice. The whole story wouldn't have happened. How is this spell that was begging for abuse not banned? Why was it even in the magic book? But it was nice that Salem's comedy routine when making up a speech for the principal actually got him endeared to everyone, after, realistically, he failed at lip-syncing to the principal. The second story is about a necklace from Sabrina's pen pal making all of her magic backfire until it's left on the moon. Zelda has to do research on it and tell her that the necklace is the problem, when it only started happening right after she put the necklace on. After which she started screwing up spells she'd never screw up. By the way, Sabrina said out loud at the start of the story that she'd better tie Harvey's shoe magically before he tripped. Why didn't anyone hear her and react? I wish it was explained that a witch is what made the necklace have its powers. Or a leprechaun, better yet. But I guess we're supposed to just assume that. Otherwise, it'd make no sense. I actually have this story. The third story is about Sabrina hating the Witch Mart because it's apparently nothing but potion ingredients that her aunts are inexplicably excited about when they never brew potions. Because, get it, they're witches?